Sign the papers, Emily. My father's voice was cold as he slid the adoption documents across the hospital room table. I clutched my newborn daughter closer to my chest, breathing in her sweet scent, memorizing every detail of her perfect face. No, I whispered, tears streaming down my cheeks. She's my baby. I want to keep her. You're 17. My mother snapped, pacing the sterile hospital room like a caged animal. You can't raise a child. You'll ruin your life and hers. Sign the papers. My name is Emily Turner, and on September 15, 2003, my parents forced me to give up my newborn daughter. I was 17, scared, but determined to be a mother. They had other plans. The adoptive parents are waiting, Dad said, his voice eerily calm. They're a good Christian couple. They can give her everything you can't. I looked down at my daughter's sleeping face. She had my nose, her father's chin. Jake, her father, didn't even know she existed. My parents had shipped me off to my aunt's house the moment they discovered my pregnancy, spreading rumors about a study abroad program to cover up their shame. I can take care of her, I pleaded. I've been researching online. There are programs for teen moms. I can finish school, get a job. The sharp crack of my mother's hand against the bedside table made me jump. Enough. You think you can raise a child? You can barely take care of yourself. This isn't some doll you can play with when you feel like it. A soft knock at the door interrupted her tirade. The social worker entered, her face professionally neutral. Behind her stood a couple, the adoptive parents. The woman's eyes immediately fixed on my daughter, a look of desperate longing that made my stomach turn. Hello, Emily, the social worker said gently. Are you ready? She's ready, my father answered for me. He picked up the pen and held it out. Emily, don't make this harder than it needs to be. Think about what's best for the baby. My mother moved closer, her voice dropping to a harsh whisper. If you don't sign, we'll have you declared unfit. Do you want that on your record? To be labeled an unfit mother before you're even 18? I looked at my daughter again, counting her tiny fingers, watching her peaceful breaths. Can I have a moment alone with her, please? The social worker nodded sympathetically, ushering everyone out. As soon as the door closed, I broke down, sobbing as I held my baby close. I'm so sorry, I whispered to her. I want you so much, but they won't let me keep you. They'll make sure I never see you again if I fight this. I memorized every detail. The small birthmark behind her left ear, the way her fingers curled around mine, the soft dark hair that curled slightly at the ends. I took in everything, knowing these moments would have to last a lifetime. When they came back in, I was numb. I watched my own hand sign the papers as if it belonged to someone else. The adoptive mother stepped forward eagerly, arms outstretched. Wait, I said, my voice breaking. Can I give her something? My mother started to object, but the social worker intervened. Of course you can. With trembling hands, I fastened my grandmother's locket around my daughter's tiny neck. Inside was a picture of me holding her, taken just hours after her birth, and a note with my name. My mother hadn't noticed me writing it during one of her coffee breaks. Something to remember me by, I whispered as I kissed her forehead one last time. The adoptive mother took her then, cooing softly. My daughter, no longer my daughter, didn't wake up. She just snuggled into the stranger's arms, unaware that her entire world had just changed. You'll thank us later, my mother said as we watched them leave. This is for the best. I didn't respond. I couldn't. The emptiness in my arms felt like a physical wound, a pain so deep I couldn't breathe. As soon as I was released from the hospital, my parents whisked me back home, determined to pretend none of this had ever happened. That night, alone in my room, I made myself a promise. This wasn't over. Somehow, someday, I would find my daughter again. I would explain everything. I would make sure she knew she was wanted, that giving her up wasn't my choice. I touched the empty spot on my neck where my grandmother's locket used to rest, praying it would somehow lead my daughter back to me one day. Life after giving up my baby was like walking through a fog. My parents were determined to get back to normal as quickly as possible. Within a week, I was back at school, expected to focus on college applications and SAT prep as if I hadn't just had my heart ripped out. Stop moping, Mom would say whenever she caught me looking at the only photo I'd managed to hide of my daughter. You need to focus on your future. This was just a bump in the road. A bump in the road, that's what they called my daughter. My father had already scrubbed any trace of her existence from our home. even repainting my room to give it a fresh start. But they couldn't erase my memories or my determination. Every night, I would write letters to her, tucking them away in a box under my floorboards. Letters explaining why I had to let her go, how much I loved her, how I thought about her every single day. Dear baby girl, one letter read, today you would be 3 months old. I wonder if you're sleeping through the night yet, if you've started smiling. I hope the locket is still with you. I hope someday you'll understand. I graduated high school with honors just like my parents wanted. Went to college just like they planned. But every decision I made was with one goal in mind: finding my daughter when she turned 18. I studied law, specializing in family rights and adoption. My parents were thrilled, thinking I'd finally moved on and found my calling. They had no idea I was learning everything I could about adoption records, rights, and reunion processes. 10 years after giving up my daughter, I was working at a prestigious law firm, handling adoption cases. The irony wasn't lost on me. I helped other mothers navigate the system I once felt so helpless against. That's when I met Sarah, another birth mother who had been forced to give up her child. Have you registered with the Adoption Reunion Registry? She asked during one of our conversations. I hadn't known such a thing existed. That night, I filled out every form I could find, registering my information on every possible database. I included details about the locket, hoping it might help my daughter find me if she ever went looking. My mother called around this time, excited about some charity gala. There's a lovely young doctor I want you to meet, she said. It's time you settled down, started a real family. I already have a family, I replied coldly. She'll be 11 now. The silence on the other end was deafening. Emily, Mom's voice turned sharp. We agreed never to discuss that incident. It's in the past. No, Mom. You and Dad agreed. I never did. I hung up, adding another letter to my box. Dear baby girl, your grandmother still pretends you don't exist. But I see you everywhere, in little girls playing at the park, in the lockets at jewelry stores, in every client who comes to me hoping to find their child. The years continued to pass. I threw myself into my work, building a reputation for helping birth parents and adoptees reconnect. Each reunion I facilitated felt like practice for my own someday. My parents eventually stopped trying to set me up, stopped pretending everything was perfect. They couldn't understand why I wouldn't move forward with my life. What they didn't realize was that I had moved forward, just not in the direction they'd planned. Every step I took was bringing me closer to the day I might find my daughter again. 15 years after signing those papers, I opened my own law firm specializing in adoption rights. The day I hung my shingle, I added another letter to my box. Dear baby girl, you're 15 now. The same age I was when I found out I was pregnant with you. I wondered if you look like me, if you have my laugh, if you ever wonder about the mother who gave you away. I wonder if you hate me. I wouldn't blame you if you did. But I hope someday I'll get to tell you my side of the story. My office became known as a place where birth parents could find hope and help. I kept a photo of my grandmother's locket on my desk, the twin of the one I'd given my daughter. Sometimes when clients asked about it, I'd share my story. How do you do this work? They'd ask, doesn't it hurt too much? Every adoption story I handle brings me one step closer to understanding my own, I'd tell them. And maybe, just maybe, they'll help me find my daughter someday. September 15th, 2023, exactly 20 years after I'd given up my daughter, I sat in my office, staring at the locket photo, when my assistant buzzed through. Miss Turner, there's a young woman here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but there was something in her voice that made me pause. She's wearing a locket, just like the one in your photo. My heart stopped. The world seemed to tilt on its axis as a tall, dark-haired young woman walked into my office. She looked exactly like my high school photos, except for her chin, Jake's chin. Hi, she said softly, fingers clutching the familiar locket. My name is Grace Mitchell. I think you're my birth mother. I couldn't speak. 20 years of prepared speeches vanished from my mind. All I could do was stare at the daughter I'd been searching for my entire adult life. I found your note, she continued, opening the locket. The paper was worn, but my handwriting was still visible. And then I found your name on the adoption registry. I've been following your work for the past year, trying to work up the courage to come. Finally, I found my voice. Would you like to sit down? She did, perching nervously on the edge of the chair. My parents, my adoptive parents, they told me about you when I turned 18. They said you were very young, that you wanted a better life for me. That's not exactly true, I said, my voice breaking. I pulled open my desk drawer and took out the box of letters. I've written to you every year, hoping someday I could give these to you. They're the real story. Grace took the box with trembling hands. My whole life, I wondered if you ever thought about me. Every single day, I whispered. I never wanted to give you up. My parents, they didn't give me a choice. I told her everything. About being sent away during the pregnancy, about the threats to declare me unfit, about the years spent searching and hoping. She listened intently, occasionally wiping away tears. They're still the same, I finished. They still pretend it never happened. Last Christmas, Mom tried to set me up with a divorce lawyer, saying it was time I started a family. Grace managed a small smile. My adoptive parents are good people. They gave me a good life. But I always felt like something was missing. When I found your note, everything made sense. She hesitated, then asked, Do you know anything about my father? His name is Jake Collins, I said. He never knew about you. My parents made sure of that. Last I heard, he's a teacher in Oregon. I have your smile, Grace said suddenly. My adoptive mom always wondered where it came from. We talked for hours, sharing photos and stories. She was a medical student, following her dream of becoming a pediatrician. She loved art, just like I did at her age. She had 1,000 questions, and for the first time in 20 years, I could finally answer them. As evening approached, Grace stood to leave. My flight back to Boston is tomorrow morning, but could we maybe have dinner? There's so much more I want to know. I'd love that. I managed through tears. After she left, I called Sarah, the birth mother who first told me about the reunion registry. She found me, I said, still in disbelief. My baby found me. That night, I wrote one final letter. Dear Grace, no longer just baby girl. Today, after 20 years, I finally got to hold you again. You've grown into an amazing young woman, and while I can't take credit for that, my heart is full knowing you're happy and healthy. Your adoptive parents raised you well, and for that, I'm grateful. But they were wrong about one thing. Giving you up wasn't my choice, and it wasn't for the best. The best thing would have been having the chance to raise you myself, to see your first steps, hear your first words, kiss your scraped knees better. I can't change the past, but maybe we can build a future. A future where you know you were always wanted, always loved, always in my heart. Love, Mom, if you'll let me call myself that. As I sealed this final letter, my phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Your father and I heard through the grapevine that you had a visitor today. We need to talk. I looked at the photo Grace had given me before leaving, her medical school graduation picture, brilliant smile beaming at the camera. For the first time in 20 years, I felt completely at peace with my response. No, Mom, we don't. Hi, I'm Harper, a 29-year-old veterinarian, and lately my life's been anything but boring. Growing up in a modest home, my parents, John and Sandra, were my biggest supporters. No matter what, they always had my back, even when things were tough. Harper, honey, how was work today? Mom called as I walked through the door, exhausted from another busy day at the animal hospital. It was good, Mom. Busy as always, but I love it, I replied, collapsing onto our well-worn couch. Dad emerged from the garage, wiping his hands on an old rag. That's my girl, always working hard, he said with pride. My dad, John, is a mechanic, a great one too. For as long as I can remember, he's dreamed of opening his own auto repair shop. How's the saving going, Dad? I asked, knowing he'd been putting away every extra penny for his dream. Slow and steady, kiddo. We'll get there, he winked. John, don't forget to tell Harper about your idea, Mom reminded him. Oh right, Dad's eyes lit up. I've been thinking, once we save enough, we could buy a used luxury car to use as a courtesy car for clients. Fancy, huh? I couldn't help but laugh. Dad, that's brilliant. Your clients would love it. As we sat down for dinner, I felt grateful. Sure, we've had our share of struggles, but we've always stuck together. The next day at work, I was examining a golden retriever named Buddy when my coworker Michael popped his head in. Hey, Harper, how's it going? He asked with a grin. Pretty good, just finishing up with Buddy here, I replied, scratching the dog behind his ears. Listen, I was wondering if you'd like to grab coffee later. I'd love to pick your brain about that new treatment plan you developed. Sure, sounds great, I said, unaware that Michael's friendliness wasn't entirely genuine. Later that evening, as I was going through some bills, Dad called from the living room. Harper, come here. You got to see this. I rushed in to find him grinning at his laptop. What is it? I think I found it. The perfect car for the shop. Look at this beauty. He turned the screen towards me, showing a sleek used luxury sedan. Wow, Dad, that's impressive, but can we afford it? With the money I've saved and a little help from you and Mom, I think we can make it happen. What do you say we check it out this weekend? Absolutely, Dad. Let's do it. On the weekend, Dad and I went to the dealership. The place was all shiny chrome and polished floors, making me feel a little out of place in my jeans and sneakers. There it is. Dad's eyes lit up as he spotted the car. As we approached, a salesman appeared. Before Dad could answer, an obnoxious voice cut in. Ha! Don't waste your time, Brad. These people are just window shopping, sneered a man in an expensive suit, glancing dismissively at us. Excuse me, I said, my blood beginning to boil. Oh, come on, sweetheart, he smirked. A beat-up pickup in the lot and bargain bin clothes. You're not fooling anyone. Dad's face fell, and that's when I lost it. Listen here, you arrogant jerk. This is my father, and he's here to buy a car. Who do you think you are? Ryan Blackwell, CEO of Pharmatech. He puffed up, and I know a time waster when I see one. Before I could respond, the dealership owner hurried over. Mr. Blackwell, I must ask you to leave. We don't tolerate this behavior here. Ryan's face turned red. Do you know who I am? Yes, and I don't care. Please leave. As Ryan stormed out, the owner turned to us apologetically. I'm so sorry. Let me offer you a special deal on this car to make up for it. Dad's eyes widened. Really? That's very kind of you. As we finalized the deal, I felt a surge of satisfaction. Take that, Ryan Blackwell. But my triumph was short-lived. The next week at work, I overheard Michael talking to our boss. Yeah, that new treatment plan for diabetic cats. That was my idea. I froze. That was my plan. I confronted him later. Michael, why are you taking credit for my work? He just shrugged. Come on, Harper. We're a team. Does it really matter who came up with it? From then on, it was like working in a minefield. My files would go missing, appointments would get mixed up, and every time, Michael would be there to save the day. Then, to top it off, I decided to surprise my boyfriend, Tom, with lunch one day. But as I approached his office, I heard familiar giggles. I pushed open the door to find Tom with Rachel, my supposed friend, in a compromising position. Harper, Tom jumped up. It's not what it looks like. Rachel looked ashamed. Harper, I'm so sorry. I didn't say a word. I just turned and walked out, my world crumbling. That night, as I sat on my bed, feeling completely overwhelmed, Dad knocked on my door. Honey, you okay? I broke down and told him everything, about Michael, about Tom and Rachel, and about how it felt like my life was falling apart. Dad sat next to me, putting an arm around my shoulders. Harper, you're the strongest person I know. These people, they're not worth your tears. You're going to get through this, and you're going to come out stronger. I wiped my eyes, feeling a spark of determination. You're right, Dad. I'm not letting them win. The next morning, I walked into the animal hospital with a new fire in my belly. No more Miss Nice Vet. It was time to play detective. I started keeping a detailed log of everything. Every time Michael took credit for my work, every misplaced file, every messed up appointment. It felt like a twisted game of Clue, and Michael was Colonel Mustard with the candlestick. One day, I even caught him red-handed adjusting the dosage on one of my prescriptions. What are you doing? I demanded. He fumbled, nearly dropping the chart. Oh, I thought I saw an error, just double-checking. Right, I said, snatching the chart back, because that's your job now. As I walked away, I heard him mutter, someone's got to do it. That's when I decided to confide in Emma, my colleague and the only person I still trusted at work. Emma, I need your help, I said, closing her office door. It's about Michael. Her eyes widened as I explained everything that had been happening. That sneaky bastard, she whispered. What do you need me to do? With Emma's help, we started building an airtight case against Michael. But that wasn't the only storm brewing. One evening, while researching affordable medications for a client's dog, I stumbled across disturbing information about Pharmatech, Ryan Blackwell's company. They were inflating drug prices by creating artificial shortages, making it nearly impossible for people to afford medication for their pets. This is criminal, I muttered, Digging deeper, the more I uncovered, the sicker I felt. Without hesitation, I compiled all the evidence and anonymously tipped off Jana Cruz, a respected journalist known for her hard-hitting exposés. But I wasn't done cleaning house. It was time to deal with Tom and Rachel. I invited them both to my apartment, separately, of course. Rachel arrived first, looking nervous. "Harper, she started, but I cut her off. "Save it, Rachel. I trusted both of you. We're done here. I don't want to see or hear from you again." "Understood." She nodded, tears in her eyes, and left just as Tom was arriving. His face fell when he saw Rachel leaving. "Harper, please let me explain." "Explain what, Tom? How you and my best friend betrayed me?" "No thanks. We're over. Get out." As the door closed behind him, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. But my relief was short-lived. Dad called, sounding stressed. "Harper, honey, we've hit a snag with the shop. The equipment costs are way higher than we anticipated." My heart sank. "How bad is it, Dad?" It's pretty bad, sweetheart. I don't know if we can make this work." I could hear the defeat in his voice, and it broke my heart. "Don't worry, Dad. We'll figure this out. I promise." As I hung up, my mind was racing. I needed a plan, a way to expose Michael and help Dad's business. Suddenly, it hit me. What if I could kill two birds with one stone? The day of reckoning arrived sooner than I expected. I stood outside the boardroom, heart pounding, clutching a folder filled with evidence against Michael. Emma squeezed my arm reassuringly. "You've got this, Harper," she whispered. I took a deep breath and walked in. The board members looked up expectantly. "Dr. Chen, you requested this meeting. What seems to be the issue?" For the next hour, I laid out everything: the stolen ideas, the sabotaged appointments, the tampered prescriptions. With each piece of evidence, Michael's face grew paler. "This is ridiculous," he finally exploded. "She's lying." The board chair held up a hand. "We've heard enough, Mr. Peterson. Security will escort you out. Dr. Chen, thank you for bringing this to our attention. We'll be in touch." As Michael was led away, shouting threats, a wave of relief washed over me. But it was just the beginning. The next morning, my phone buzzed with notifications. Janet Cruz's expose on Pharmatech had dropped, and it was nuclear. Ryan Blackwell's face was plastered across every news channel, his company's stock in freefall. Pharmatech CEO Ryan Blackwell faces multiple lawsuits amid price-gouging scandal, one headline blared. I couldn't help but smile, remembering his smug face at the dealership. "Karma's a beast, Ryan." But the hits kept coming. I got a text from a mutual friend. "OMG, did you hear about Tom and Rachel?" She confessed everything to everyone. "Tom's a pariah at work now." I almost felt bad. Almost. Amid all this chaos, I got a call from the hospital. "Dr. Chen, the board would like to see you." My stomach dropped. Had I gone too far? But when I arrived, I was met with smiles. "Dr. Chen, in light of recent events, we'd like to offer you the position of head veterinarian. Your innovative treatments and dedication to patient care are exactly what this hospital needs." I was speechless. "Thank you. I won't let you down." As I left the office, still in shock, I bumped into Emma. "Well?" she asked nervously. I grinned. "Looks like you're looking at the new head vet." Her squeal of excitement echoed through the hallway as she hugged me. That evening, I drove to Dad's shop, my mind racing with ideas. I found him hunched over some paperwork, looking stressed. "Dad, I've got an idea." Over the next few hours, we hashed out a plan. With my new position and connections, we secured a small business loan. I helped him develop a scheduling system to streamline operations, focusing on luxury car maintenance. "Harper, this is amazing," Dad said, his eyes misty. "I don't know how to thank you." I hugged him tight. "You never gave up on your dream, Dad. I wasn't about to let you give up now." The weeks flew by. Dad's shop took off, becoming the go-to place for high-end car maintenance, and the animal hospital thrived under my leadership. Our patient care reached new heights. One evening, as I left the hospital, I paused to reflect. A year ago, I was struggling, surrounded by people who wanted to see me fail. Now I was head veterinarian, my dad's business was booming, and I had true friends like Emma by my side. I realized then that by staying true to myself, by fighting back against the toxicity, I'd achieved more than I ever thought possible. And those who tried to bring me down, they were the ones who fell. Life isn't always fair, but sometimes, just sometimes, the good guys win. And let me tell you, it feels pretty damn sweet when they do. So, what would you have done in Harper's shoes when she discovered Michael stealing her ideas and sabotaging her work? Would you have gathered evidence quietly like she did, or confronted him immediately? Is there a point where being patient becomes being a doormat? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hey there, I'm Amanda, a 28-year-old event planner with a knack for turning chaos into unforgettable moments. Right now, I'm standing in my office surrounded by mood boards and color swatches when my phone buzzes. It's Mom, calling yet again to discuss wedding cake flavors. Honey, are you sure you don't want to try the lavender lemon? It's unique, she says, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. I can't help but smile. Mom, you know John's allergic to lavender. Let's stick with classic vanilla, okay? That's my mom, Lisa, always looking out for me. We've been as close as thieves ever since I can remember, and she's the reason I got into event planning in the first place. Watching her throw amazing birthday parties for me as a kid lit a spark that turned into my passion. Speaking of sparks, let me tell you about John. We met during a disastrous corporate event I was managing. The DJ had bailed, the catering was late, and I was one meltdown away from crying into the table centerpieces. Just then, this tall, calm guy strolled up and asked, "Need a hand?" Turns out he's a tech wizard, and within minutes, he had the sound system up and running. We've been inseparable ever since. Now, we're planning our own big day, and I couldn't be more excited. But there's this nagging feeling I can't shake, and it's all tied to my grandmother, Catherine. Heading to see Catherine today. My best friend Megan asks over the phone, her voice crackling. Need me to come? I can run interference if she starts grilling you. Nah, it's just to drop off the wedding invite, I reply, trying to sound more confident than I feel. But as I pull up to Catherine's house, my cousin Stephen, who's fixing her porch swing, gives me a look that says, you know what you're walking into. Inside, Catherine is holding court from her favorite armchair. Amanda, dear, come closer, she beckons, and I hand her the invite, keeping my tone light. Big day's coming up, Grandma. Wouldn't be complete without you there. Her eyes narrow as she takes the envelope. Yes, I suppose it wouldn't. Have you considered wearing your hair up? It would show off your unique features. There it is, that subtle but unmistakable critique. I force a smile. Thanks for the tip, Grandma. I'll think about it. As I leave, her parting words linger ominously. Family's a funny thing, isn't it? Full of surprises. The unsettling vibe sticks with me, but for now, I focus on planning a wedding that's nearly perfect. Nearly because that feeling of unease refuses to fade. The big day arrives, and I'm a mess of nerves and excitement. My dress fits like a glove, and the venue looks like a fairy tale come to life. Megan gushes as she adjusts my veil. Amanda, you look absolutely stunning. Thanks, Meg, I say, my voice shaking. I can't believe it's finally happening. Just then, Mom peeks her head into the bridal suite. Honey, your grandmother's here. She's asking to see you. I frown. Already? The ceremony doesn't start for another hour. Still, I step out to greet Catherine, who looks strangely unsettled. Amanda, dear, she says, fidgeting with her purse. Before everything begins, have you ever felt like you didn't quite belong in this family? Grandma, what are you talking about? This isn't the time for. Just answer the question, dear. Exasperated, I sigh. No, I've always felt like I belonged. Can we please focus on the wedding? She nods, but there's a glint in her eye that sends a shiver down my spine. Of course, dear. The ceremony begins, and as I walk down the aisle, John's smile calms my nerves. Everything feels perfect, until a voice cuts through the air. Stop this wedding. A woman stands at the back, tall and elegant, her face a mask of anguish. I'm sorry, but I can't keep quiet any longer. Amanda, I'm your real mother. The crowd gasps, and it feels like the ground has been ripped out from under me. What? No, that's impossible. My mom, Lisa, jumps to her feet, her face pale. What is the meaning of this? She looks at me, her voice steady despite the chaos. Amanda, we'll figure this out, together. I nod numbly, unable to speak. Through the commotion, I notice Catherine. Unlike everyone else, she isn't shocked. Instead, she wears a smug smile. Realization dawns on me. Grandma, I whisper. Before I could confront her, Megan and Stephen were suddenly at my side. Amanda, this is insane. Something's not right here, Stephen said, his eyes narrowing with suspicion. Megan nodded, determined. We're going to get to the bottom of this. I promise. As quickly as she had appeared, the mystery woman vanished into the crowd. Guests scattered, calling out, trying to find her, but she was gone. My perfect day had turned into a nightmare. Questions swirled in my mind. Who was that woman? Why would Catherine do this? Was my whole life a lie? Lisa approached me, tears streaming down her face. Honey, I don't know what's happening, but you have to believe me. I'm your mother. I gave birth to you. I raised you. This has to be some kind of horrible mistake. I need some air, I mumbled, pushing through the crowd. As I stumbled outside, I heard Catherine's voice behind me, soft but cutting. The truth always comes out, dear. Always. The days following the wedding disaster were a blur. I postponed the reception indefinitely and holed up in my apartment with John. The constant flood of calls and messages was overwhelming. Amanda, John said gently one morning, we need to talk about what happened. I sighed, running a hand through my unwashed hair. What's there to talk about? My grandmother apparently thinks I'm adopted and hired some actress to ruin our wedding. Just another Tuesday, right? John didn't laugh. This is serious, Amanda. We need to get to the bottom of this. Just then, my phone buzzed. It was Megan. Amanda, you won't believe what Stephen and I found. Can we come over? 20 minutes later, Megan and Stephen arrived at my place, looking exhausted. Okay, spill it, I demanded. Stephen leaned forward, eyes intense. We did some digging. Turns out Catherine's been making regular donations to a local theater group for the past 6 months. Megan jumped in, and get this, one payment from her account went to an actress named Claire. The amount and timing line up perfectly with the wedding fiasco. My head spun. Are you saying Catherine hired an actress to pretend to be my mother? But why? That's what we need to find out, John said, squeezing my hand. I knew what I had to do. I called Catherine and demanded she come over. When she arrived, her face was a mask of innocence. Grandma, we know about the actress. Why did you do this? Catherine's eyes hardened. I did what I had to do. You deserve to know the truth about your origins. What truth? There is no truth. You made this all up. Catherine shook her head. You were adopted, Amanda. I've always known. Just then, my mom burst into the room. That's enough, Catherine. I've kept quiet about your manipulations for years, but this ends now. What followed was a revelation that shattered my world. My mom, Lisa, unleashed years of pent-up frustration, detailing how Catherine had always tried to control and sabotage our lives. She's even gone as far as sabotaging your college application so you'd stay close to home, Lisa revealed, voice shaking. I felt like I was drowning. Is that true? I demanded. Catherine's silence was all the confirmation I needed. The next few days were a whirlwind. John and I barely spoke, the weight of everything straining our relationship. I threw myself into uncovering the truth, determined to end this nightmare. During a late-night search through old boxes, I found it, a dusty folder containing my birth records. There, in black and white, was proof that Lisa was indeed my biological mother. With shaking hands, I called Megan. I found the proof. Catherine's been lying this whole time. Megan's voice was filled with relief. Thank God. But Amanda, there's more. We found out Catherine's been interfering in your life for years. Remember Michael from college? She paid him to break up with you. The revelations kept coming. Catherine had meddled in nearly every aspect of my life, always under the guise of protecting me. Armed with the truth, I confronted her one last time. Why, Grandma? Why would you do all this? Catherine's composed facade finally cracked. I was trying to protect you from making the same mistakes your mother did. I thought if I controlled everything, you'd have the perfect life. Tears streamed down my face. But it wasn't your life to control. You've hurt so many people, including yourself. As I left Catherine's house that day, a heavy weight lifted from my shoulders. The truth was out. Painful as it was, now came the hard part. Rebuilding my life and relationships in the aftermath of Catherine's web of lies. I decided to call a family meeting, my heart pounding as everyone gathered in our living room. John squeezed my hand reassuringly as I stood to address the room. I've asked you all here because it's time for the truth to come out. I began, my voice trembling slightly. Catherine has been deceiving all of us for years. I laid out everything. The hired actress, the sabotaged college applications, the manipulated relationships. With each revelation, gasps and murmurs filled the room. Catherine, seated in the corner, finally spoke. Now, Amanda, you're blowing this out of proportion. I'd only ever wanted what was best for you. My Uncle Tom stood up, his face flushed with anger. Best for her. Catherine, you've been manipulating this family for decades. Remember when you convinced me Sarah was cheating? You nearly ruined my marriage. I took a deep breath and made my decision clear. I'm cutting all ties with Catherine. I'm filing for a restraining order, and I suggest you all consider your relationships with her carefully. Catherine's face twisted with rage. You ungrateful child. After everything I've done for you. That's enough, Mom, my father interrupted, his voice stern. Lisa and I are considering legal action for the emotional distress you've caused our family. 1 year later, I sat in my office admiring a photo of John and me on our wedding day. My event planning business was thriving, and our marriage was stronger than ever. My phone buzzed, and it was Stephen. Amanda, you're not going to believe this, he said. Catherine's been arrested for financial fraud. Looks like she was running a Ponzi scheme through her charity work. I let out a long, relieved breath. Wow, I guess karma finally caught up with her. After hanging up, I leaned back in my chair, reflecting on the tumultuous journey of the past year. The pain Catherine caused was still there, a dull ache that might never fully heal, but I felt stronger, more resilient. I thought about the little girl I used to be, always seeking Catherine's approval, and I wished I could tell her that everything would be okay, that she would find the strength to break free from toxic influence and build a life filled with genuine love and trust. A knock at my office door pulled me from my thoughts. It was John, grinning widely. Ready for lunch, Mrs. Event Planner Extraordinaire? I smiled, grabbing my bag. As we walked out, hand in hand, I realized that despite everything, or perhaps because of it, I had never felt more like myself. The future stretched out before us, bright and full of possibility, free from the shadows of the past. The story of Amanda and Catherine's manipulations had come to an end. Now, I have a question for you. If you discovered a family member had been manipulating your life for years, would you cut ties completely or try to forgive them? What would it take for you to consider rebuilding that relationship? Share your thoughts in the comments below.
Hey there, I'm James. I'm 25, and yeah, I've got some special needs. But trust me, that doesn't stop me from giving it my all every day at the recycling plant where I work. Those conveyor belts, they're my turf. Yo, James, can you speed up belt 3? We got a backlog coming in. That's Tony, my best buddy at work. He's always got my back. On it. T, watch me work my magic. I love when the belts are running just right. It's like a symphony of recycling, and I'm the conductor. Speaking of bosses, my supervisor, Sarah's pretty cool. Great job organizing that pile of cardboard, James. You've really got an eye for this. Thanks, Sarah. I aim to please. After a long day saving the planet, one recycled item at a time, I head home to my folks. Mom's usually there with a big smile and an even bigger hug. How was work today, sweetie? She asks, ruffling my hair like I'm still a kid. It was awesome, Mom. We processed a ton of plastic today. Literally. Dad's a different story. He's always got his nose buried in paperwork, muttering about numbers. Robert, put those papers down and say hello to your son. Mom scolds, giving him the look. Oh, hey James, Dad says, barely glancing up. Good day at work. Yeah, Dad, it was great. I try not to let it get to me, but sometimes I wonder if he really sees me. At least I have my little sister, Emily. She's off at college, living her best life, but she never forgets to check in. Phone rings, hey big bro. How's it hanging? Just finished work. How's college treating you? Oh, living off ramen and coffee. The usual. You better be keeping Mom and Dad in line. We chat for a while, and it feels like she's right here. I miss her, but I'm so proud of her. Later that night, I'm chilling in my room when I overhear Mom and Dad talking in hushed tones. Robert, we need to talk about the business. Things aren't looking good. I know, Linda. I'm working on it. Just need a little more time. And what about James? He needs. Not now, Linda. I can't deal with everything at once. I pretend I didn't hear anything, but it sticks with me. There's this tension in the air, like a storm brewing. But hey, that's life. You take the good with the bad. As I get ready for bed, I can't shake the feeling that something big is coming. Maybe it's just my imagination. Or maybe, well, who knows? All I know is tomorrow's another day at the belts, and I'm going to crush it. That's how I roll. Fast forward to our road trip to see Emily. I'm bouncing in my seat like a kid on Christmas morning. It's been forever since we've all been together, and I can't wait to see my little sis. Dad's at the wheel, Mom's riding shotgun, and I've got the whole backseat to myself. Living the dream, right? But something feels off. Mom and Dad are whispering up front, and it doesn't sound like they're planning a surprise party. Robert, we can't keep ignoring this. The bills are piling up. I told you, Linda, I've got it under control. I just need to make a few more calls. But what about? Not now. James might hear. Too late, Dad. I heard every word. I pretend to be fascinated by the passing scenery. Trees are so interesting, you know. The tension in the car is thicker than peanut butter, and I try to lighten the mood. Hey, remember when Emily got car sick and puked all over Dad's new shoes? Mom forces a laugh. Oh, sweetie, don't remind me. Your father was furious. Yeah, well, maybe if she hadn't insisted on reading in the car. Dad grumbles. So much for breaking the tension. I sink back into my seat, wishing I had Emily's talent for witty comebacks. Suddenly, everything goes sideways, literally. Robert, watch out. A massive truck swerves into our lane, horn blaring. Dad yanks the wheel, and the world turns into a blur of screeching tires. Crash. We smash through a barrier, and suddenly we're airborne. For a split second, I see my workplace below. We're bright, of all the places to fly over. The car lands with a bone-jarring thud, teetering on the edge of a cliff, or something equally terrifying. My heart races. This is really bad. The car door flies open, and suddenly I'm falling. The last thing I see is Dad holding Mom tight, not even sparing me a glance. Then, pain, so much pain. I crash onto something hard and moving. A conveyor belt. The irony would be funny if it didn't hurt so damn much. Everything blurs into motion and agony. I hear shouting, familiar voices. Oh my God, James. Someone call an ambulance. Hang on, buddy, we got you. Tony? Sarah? What are they doing here? Oh right. Work. I landed at work. How's that for employee dedication? Everything fades as the pain overwhelms me, dragging me into darkness. The last thing I hear before slipping away is Dad's voice. Linda, are you okay? Thank God, I got you out in time. What about me, Dad? What about me? Beep, beep, beep. Man, my head feels like it's been through a blender. I crack my eyes open, wincing at the bright hospital room lights. James, honey, can you hear me? Mom's voice. I try to speak, but my throat feels like sandpaper. Water, I croak. Mom helps me sip some, and I finally manage to take in my surroundings. Nearby, Dad is on the phone. Yes, I understand the gravity of the situation, but surely we can come to some arrangement to avoid a lawsuit, he says. Lawsuit? What's he talking about? Mom notices my confusion and tries to comfort me. Don't worry about that now, sweetie. How are you feeling? Like I fell off a cliff, I mumble. Dad snaps his phone shut. That's because you did, son. Do you have any idea how much trouble this could cause? The medical bills alone. Robert, Mom cuts him off. That's enough. The days blur together, doctors, nurses, endless tests. Through it all, one thing becomes clear. Dad is more worried about money than about me. One night, I pretend to be asleep and overhear my parents talking outside my room. We can't keep this up, Robert. The embezzlement, the gambling, it's destroying our family, Mom says. My heart pounds. Embezzlement. Gambling. What the hell? I told you I'll fix it, Dad insists. We just need to cut some expenses. That care facility I mentioned. No, I won't send James away. He's our son. He's a financial burden, Linda. We can't afford. I feel like I've been punched in the gut. A burden. Is that all I am to him? The next day, Emily shows up. Man, it's good to see her. Hey, big bro. You look like crap, she jokes. Thanks, sis. Love you too. We chat for a bit, but I can tell something's eating at her. Finally, she snaps. I know everything, James. Dad's crimes, his plan to send you away. I confronted them last night. My heart sinks. And? Dad tried to justify it. Mom just stood there, silent. Betrayal. That's the only word for what I feel. What are we going to do, Em? I ask, desperate. She grabs my hand. We're going to fight, you and me against the world, just like when we were kids. For the first time since the accident, I feel a spark of hope. As the weeks pass and I push myself in physical therapy, that spark grows. I work harder than ever, teeth gritted against the pain. The nurses and therapists are impressed, but I'm not doing this for them. I'm doing it for me. One day, as I'm struggling through exercises, I hear Dad talking to my doctor. So, about that care facility. That's it. I've had enough. No, I say, loud enough for them to hear. Dad turns, startled. James, you don't understand. I understand plenty. I cut him off. I'm not going anywhere. This is my life and I'm taking control of it. Starting now. The look on his face. Priceless. But this is just the beginning. I've got plans, big plans. And I'm not letting anyone stand in my way. Watch out, world. James is coming back stronger than ever. Physical therapy is brutal, but I'm relentless. Every day, I push harder, fight through the pain, and prove everyone wrong. Finally, the day comes when I'm cleared to return to work. James, man, it's good to have you back. Tony grins, giving me a hearty slap on the back. Sarah's there too, beaming. We've missed you around here, she says. How are you feeling? Ready to kick some recycling butt, I reply, and I mean it. They ease me back into things, but I'm not holding back. I throw myself into every task, learning new skills, even taking on extra shifts. I'm determined to make a mark. One day, Sarah pulls me aside. James, can we talk? I've been watching your progress and, well, how would you feel about promotion? A supervisory role? My jaw drops. Are you serious? Dead serious, she says, smiling. You've earned it. Meanwhile, at home, everything is imploding. Dad's business partner has discovered the embezzlement, and the whole scheme is collapsing like a house of cards. How could you do this, Robert? Mom cries, but there's anger in her voice. To our family, to James. I was trying to provide for us. Dad shouts back. By stealing. By trying to send our son away. I try to stay out of it, but Emily is on the warpath. She's found me a lawyer, a real shark. We're going after him for everything, James. The accident, the attempted abandonment, all of it. Part of me wants to say no, to be the bigger person. But then I remember that day, the cliff, Dad reaching for Mom and not me. I remember financial burden. Do it, I tell her. The case doesn't even make it to court. Dad goes down for embezzlement, and his lawyer advises him to settle everything else. It's enough for me to get my own place and start fresh. Moving day arrives, and Mom is there, helping me pack. There are tears in her eyes. I'm so proud of you, sweetie, and I'm so sorry. I hug her tight. It's okay, Mom. We're going to be okay. My new apartment isn't much, but it's mine. All mine. That night, after everyone has left, I stand on my small balcony, looking out at the city. My city. My life. My phone buzzes. It's Emily. How's the new place, big bro? It's perfect, Em. Everything's perfect. And for the first time in my life, I really mean it. I'm not just the guy with special needs anymore. I'm James, supervisor, apartment dweller, survivor. I'm free. The story has ended, but now I have a question for you. If you were in my shoes, could you ever forgive a parent who saw you as a burden and chose to save someone else in a life or death situation? What would it take for you to consider reconciliation? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.